So what I want us to do is to start becoming more conscious, start choosing things in a better way for ourselves, and start creating a life that's going to gear us to really take advantage of the opportunities that are going to show up for us in the years to come.
This podcast is brought to you by The Integrated Human. We work up, down, inside out to plug yourself into your potential. If you want to see what we are up to and what's next, sign up to our newsletter or follow us on social media. If you like what we are doing, we really appreciate it if you can like our post on social media and YouTube and help us grow.
All right. Welcome to the Big and Small Podcast. I'm Jason Shields, and I'm big.
And I'm Mark Gabrielsen, and I'm the tiny one.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Another early morning podcast. Can't be stopped. Can't be stopped. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, I just got back from Rome.
Mm-hmm.
What a wonderful experience. I have been in the minds and hands of masters. I got to travel there to brush up on my art skills because I'm illustrating books for the Integrated Human, children's books and your book and my book, and it's going to be amazing creating logos for the company, getting inspiration from hundreds and actually thousands of years of art and expression through stone and paper and paint. Getting together with amazing people. I traveled with the Rome Residencies corporation that basically collects amazing artists and gives cultural experiences. Have some really good conversations about art and about life with people who live from that. It's pretty amazing. So thank you for holding down the fort while I was gone. It's pretty cool. So, do you have any questions for me today?
No, I don't have any questions for you today.
All right.
Nope.
Good. Well, then I'd love to talk a little bit about some of the experiences I had, if you don't mind. I met some intensely interesting people.
Oh, that's how to describe them. Intensely interesting.
Yeah, intensely interesting. As you know, I've been working a little bit with Jan-Ove Tuve, who's a student under Odd Nerdrum. And Odd Nerdrum is probably one of the great living masters and has opened up a whole arena of art called kitsch painting. And now kitsch is kind of a genre in itself. It's not always looked at as a nice thing, but it's basically taking old ideas and reproducing them and trying to make them new again. And Odd Nerdrum has done this, but at a whole another level. He basically is painting at the level of, Rembrandt's and Caravaggio and taking these old master techniques and bringing them into the modern life again. So there are many students who travel from all over the world to just be with him for a week or a month or sometimes a year. And two of the very interesting artists that I met had been living with Odd Nerdrum at his institute, basically, and knew Jan-Ove, which was really interesting again, who had been living with him for 9 years. So people get totally fascinated with this guy because he's such a powerful figure. And he inspires people to do many good things. So one of them, named Sanna Tomak, she, after being with Odd, started the Scandinavian Academy of Realistic Art in Sweden, which is an extremely high-level art education and a place where people can go and really learn to produce high-quality art, but also become deeper people, because in order to produce something of value that says something, you have to have something to say, right? Should have something to say, and
I would
that's
say don't have to, if you look at modern art, but
well,
you should.
That's another thing. Exactly.
Should have something to
Should
say
have
or
something
express.
to say or express, right? And that comes from the inside out. So it's always about finding what's real for you, and then finding the techniques that allow you to express that thing in a way that other people can understand you. And then we spent time with Clarissa James, who was also a student of Odd Nardrum, is in the big book of Odd's students. You can find one of her lady with a kimono and cranes pictures that she drew and painted. And she's masterful. So is Sana, of course. She's the head of the academy there. So learning about their arts and learning about their approaches was very interesting, and meeting the people themselves, because, somebody made a statement one time, and I'm not saying that I agree with this statement wholeheartedly, okay? But they were saying that, physicists are boring people who do something fantastic, where artists are often fantastic people who sometimes have to do things that are boring, because it's not easy to live as an artist.
No.
And you have to be really right. It's spectacular that they're able to inspire people in a way that they are able to live from it, and they're creating things that are so much more than just paint. That expression's so beautiful. Then I traveled around in Rome, seeing these great pieces of work, these great masterpieces, where they take marble and make it look like cloth or skin, or it's it's so alive. You see paintings that are priceless, just hanging on a wall at a church somewhere. But you think about church in America as just some walls and some pews and hallelujah, but these churches are masterpieces. Every square centimeter of them is something amazing, so it's a little overwhelming. It's kind of like you have so many things to look at, you have so many things to absorb, that you almost have to ignore most of it just to pick something out. And we traveled around with sketchbooks looking for ideas for artistic expression. And I remember the first 3 days, I hardly had anything written, drawn in my sketchbook, because I just didn't know what to focus on, because it was just so overwhelming. And when we finally got back into the studio and started working, it was so much easier than normal, because you're just so filled with amazing things. Just being in the presence of these pieces of work changes you somehow. And the funny thing is, when I was a child, I lived in Italy, and my mother and father took me around and showed me most of these pieces of work, the paintings and statues. But do you think I enjoyed it?
Of course not. It's the worst thing you can do to a child.
I was suffering so much. I just remember how horrible it was. And now I just enjoyed it so much. And just the transition, the paradox of just that one thing is so interesting for me. Because,
Well, isn't it then, of course?
oh yeah, it's of course, but it's just like I'm the same person, kind of.
Really?
Somewhere inside me, maybe my immortal soul's the same.
You're not the same. We say you change, like you're not, when you start a process, you're not the same after a month. How can you say that you're the same as you were when you were a child?
Well said. Exactly. But it's bizarre. Like the entity known as Jason Shields, right?
Well, that's being said, you have children that are very, very interested in art from the beginning.
Yes.
Of course. But
yeah.
No.
But
I think my mom and dad took me to Hadrian's Wall once in England. when I was 16. Horrific experience, I think, for all three of us.
Oh man.
Mostly because of me. Well, all because of me.
Yeah.
A 16-year-old do not find walking on a wall very entertaining.
No, not at all. No. And you don't have any sense of context, right? There's like, and this is an interesting thing, because this again is going to sound, of course, but when you don't focus on it, you can kind of recognize it when people say it. But when you don't really think about it, you don't think about it and you don't appreciate it. That people producing these masterpieces had the same fingernails and the same intestines and the same toes as you. It's like
He had better intestines.
yeah, maybe. But I mean, they lived human lives, and you see the great things that they were able to create. You know, I think that Alexander the Great, he died when he was like 31 or 32,
Something like that.
and he just did all this stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm late.
Well, you didn't have all the options that we have now, though.
That's true. That's exactly right. They had basically the thing they do.
Yeah, right. You have too much distractions now. You do, like we said, with tech, this was in another context, but it still applies. And not too long ago, not on a podcast, but when we were walking, and it's kind of, you get busy doing everything, so you end up doing and accomplishing nothing.
Yeah, that's it.
And that happens very easily in today's society. I think when you're gonna, I remember my first experience with that was gonna apply for school after gonna be high school, so it's gonna apply for college. And I have now been to 4 of them.
Yeah.
Because it's too many options.
Yeah.
And you can say, of course, there's a lot of bad things with how things were and stuff. But if your dad was a blacksmith, you became a blacksmith.
Yeah.
Very easy in many ways.
Yeah.
And you become a master at it, even if you weren't that good to begin with, because you're going to do this for the next, until you die. So become good at it. But now you can just change.
Yeah. And
which
now
allows...
you're almost definitely going to change, right?
Yeah, and it allows freedom, which is good. But we don't accomplish as much if you don't dare to actually stick. Because now when, like you say, everywhere you are, there you are. So what you see is that people start doing something and they reach this a threshold. And then they do something else. But they're going to reach that same place, look different, but it's going to reach that same place in everything they do. Because they reach that point where the grind starts. And when you can just change, why?
Why grind? That's it.
Why work through it? Why not just change?
Exactly. And one of the great sculptors, Bernini, his dad also was a sculptor, of course, just exactly what you're saying. And in India, they have what's called the caste system. And people are like, oh, if you're in a certain caste, you can't marry out of that caste and all that stuff. And it's not necessarily a restrictive thing in that you're dirty, you have to hold yourself there, or you're like this, you have to hold yourself there. It's not like this is better and that's worse. It's more like, okay, you're a carpenter, and your son becomes a carpenter, and you're married to the daughter of a carpenter, so she knows exactly how a carpenter needs to live in order to have it good. So when you have a kid and it's a girl or a boy, they also marry into a carpenter family, because everybody knows what it's all about all the way around. They know how much food and what kind of food and how to deal with the injuries that come from that kind of profession and all that stuff. The caste system is not necessarily the bad thing because of exactly what you're saying. So instead of deciding among a million things that you could be, you're going to be a carpenter, and then you just become even a better carpenter because you're like the 20th generation doing that thing and learning. Yeah,
but that also requires the mindset, I don't believe.
Yeah.
But as it is today's society.
Yeah, today people are not doing that.
No, it's so difficult. There's so many choices.
Yeah.
So we wonder why we don't create that now. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
Yeah, exactly.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Yeah.
Computer games.
Midlife crisis. Those guys didn't even they didn't even live until their midlife.
That's also true. Like you think you live until you're 90. Well, not every burn. I think both men and female in average live over 80, well over 80 in Norway, and it's a long time.
That's a long time, especially if you're not taking care of yourself.
But it's a long time. So when you're 20, to not actually start to learn and grind, why? You have so many years left.
True. Yep, exactly. So I'm definitely. Go ahead.
Not just saying you should grind when you're 20.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we don't. We should.
Yeah, we should.
We should start working. When you look at it, 90 is not that far ahead.
Yeah, you should have found your passion and started grinding that thing and going.
Yes.
I agree. You know, like we talk about often that, you know, your teens are trying to figure out where your hands and feet are. And then
they always change. You grow, you know.
And grow so much.
1 week they're there, the next week they're there.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of like puppies who grow completely unbalanced. They're super cute. Teenagers are awkward and wonderful, you know. And then you have in your 20s, you just have to figure out really who you are and what you want, you know, so that you can really see what you're capable of in your 30s and how far you can rise, how much you can get, how deep you can go, all of that, right? It's an exciting time, but it's exhausting. So you want to be able to push yourself 100% and know what direction you're going so you can push that thing, right? So that's what your 20s are about. So like you're saying, people need to find their grind, become deeper, you know? So I was at this Rome residency seminar basically for 2 weeks, and I had unbelievable experiences with culture, with history. They had two guys there that were just so incredibly knowledgeable. And everywhere you went, every chapel, every church, every, you know, road crossing, they had something to say about it, you know, and can put it in some kind of either a cultural or religious context, because it's just a center of the world, Rome. You know, they say all roads lead to Rome. Well, you know, it was my experience that all roads lead to a masterpiece in Rome. You know, it's so beautiful. And I'll definitely be going back next year. The guy who had responsibility for our area, they had painting and sculpting, and they had the sketchbook group, which was us basically, who was probably getting more of a cultural experience than everybody else. So I really got to experience Rome. Saw where Julius Caesar was killed. Saw how deep Rome is, because a lot of people don't know, but the Tiber River goes in between Rome, right? It goes through Rome, and it would flood periodically and take with it lots of mud and just fill Rome up with mud. So in the 1700s, the people living in Rome didn't know anything about the ancient Romans, because it was all buried like under 15 meters of silt, which is like this super fine mud. So they had no idea. So they would just have some random thing sticking out of the ground, and never thought, try to dig it up, right? Until they were going to start building more buildings, and they started digging stuff, and they found more and more amazing things under the mud. And I just think that's so weird also, that not only do you never know what's under the surface of a person, don't judge a book by its cover, but man, you don't know what you're walking on. You have no idea. So now people don't like to develop in Rome, because as soon as they start digging, they find something. They're still doing it, right? And it's so weird to think about that you can literally walk past a spot where Julius Caesar, they know for sure, for a fact, even though it was all lost, all of it was lost until the 1700s, late 1700s. They're able to dig it up and find writings and find buildings and find the steps and find the Senate and find everything. They can document that, and they know exactly where he was standing when he died. It's bizarre. People you see on TV, people you read about in books, So I definitely recommend that experience. So if you want to hang out with me, and I believe we're going to get Eirik Marit's
Yeah,
amazing
he can draw.
husband.
I do not have that ability. Not wanting to grind it out either. So
I don't want to. Okay.
I prefer gelato and caffè doppio.
Oh, I'm telling you, there's a whole lot of caffè doppio and gelato being eaten and consumed.
And maybe some vino rosso on
Yeah,
top
a
of
little
it.
bit, of course, of
And
course.
pasta carbonara.
Yep.
But then I'm set.
Okay.
And I have all the 4 things I need. And pizza, 5.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
then I'm
And
good.
smiley companions.
Yeah,
matter.
you have wine and caffè doppio, you're good.
Everybody gets smiley then,
Everybody
right?
is smiling.
Yeah.
These are
But
fine.
the guy who was the leader for my group is named Sean Friend, and he's a unbelievable artist. And again, we're talking about a person who is able to open up his unconscious and just allow amazing, like esoteric dreamscapes come out when he does his art. It's really interesting. So you guys should check him out on Instagram and check out his work, because it's kind of like looking into some kind of, I don't know, some kind of meaningful old world dreamscape. It's super cool.
Artist question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between trying to draw something and expressing something?
My friend, that is an amazing question.
Because I'm going to take back myself. Because I could express. Because I talked with a patient about this yesterday in the reception. Because they know you've been in Rome. And I said, we can't do that drawing thing. And I said, well, I think if I get a bucket of paint, I could express something that may look not horrific, not black. Because I know if I mix all colors, you get black. So I would not use all colors. Like I did when I was a kid. You mix all the colors and you get black and brown. So I could express something like that. But I could never... I can't make like a... If you look at YouTube and you look... Now you can see it right now, actually. I see it. We have naked ladies on our wall.
Yes, actually, we do.
It's a beautiful drawing.
Yeah.
It's blue and orange.
Yeah.
And
That I got from a patient that I fixed her scoliosis.
scoliosis. And you can see that that's a body.
Yeah.
I could never make a body, because then you're drawing something. But it could also be an expression.
Yeah.
But what's the difference? Because also you have this people that can paint. Because I'm not going to get into the artist argument, but the technical, I can't say anything because it's wonderful, but that doesn't express anything.
Exactly. It's basically that's an unbelievably good question, and artists and art technicians are arguing about this every single day, because
It will be, for me, it would be the same thing as you can say the right word, but you don't have any substance behind it.
yeah, it's
You know,
kind
we
of
talk-
what does it contain? Yeah,
Nice that you can draw that line as a line,
yeah,
but if you're not an architect, then why is it that straight?
yeah, exactly. And that's I guess where the masterpieces lie, and that is that it looks enough like something you recognize, but at the same time is expressing something that you feel, and you recognize the feeling of it, right? So schools like the Florence Academy, they teach what's called sight size. And sight size is basically looking at something and drawing it exactly like it looks, like it's photographic. And sight size means that you want it this big, then you move back so that in your eye it's this big. So you get closer to it so it gets bigger so that you can draw it bigger. So, and then you would like exactly, you're judged on your ability to reproduce that thing exactly like it looks. Many artists experience the fact that completely destroys your ability to be creative. And that's because creativity comes from a connection between the mind and the heart.
Yeah, because you can't express when you're doing that. You can draw technically, but not
Exactly.
express.
Yeah, you're a technician, and being a technician is very important, because if you're just splashing paint or you're just doing something random, it may not be recognizable for people.
Well, you do have the guy in Norway that got paid to put paint up his butt and splat it out.
Yeah,
The Norwegian government paid him
yeah, like 200,000 a year.
200,000 crowns, which is 20,000 euros.
Yeah, 20,000
and
euros.
$20,000 would be the same, I think.
Yeah,
To put paint up his butt and press it out
onto a canvas.
onto a canvas.
Yeah, and my idea is, I've been trying to get my head around this. My idea is that there has to be some intention and some skill behind what you're doing. If I can't see that you are skilled when I look at your art, then I don't believe that it's an art. It's not art, in my opinion. And that's why the Scandinavian Academy for Realistic Art is so amazing, because you get the skill, but you still don't get crushed. You basically are able to learn how to express and be recognizable. It's kind of like that fine balance, right? But Scandinavians are often very good at finding a balance like that. But Florence Academy, a lot of the academies are all about the technical aspects of art, like the sight size skill. But then you go to university, and there you actually get poo-pooed if you are painting, for example. You don't learn how to paint. When you're doing like a bachelor's of art, or you're doing a master's of art, you actually don't learn any skill at all. You're basically encouraged to do something completely new. It's like, if you've done anything at all that's original, then that's the perfect score. So a guy had, like, QR code. He sent out invitations to parties to lots of celebrities, right? And then when they told him, no, sorry, we're not coming to your party, he took pictures of that and then put all of this on a computer and made a QR code. And you could then, and he hung a QR code. His thesis was, he hung this QR code from the ceiling, and it was kind of swinging around, and you could take a picture of it and read all the emails, denials for all these celebrities who're not coming to his party. Now, you could say kind of that's art.
It can be an expression of how, when the world tell you no, make something good out of it.
Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? I mean, like, it doesn't really have any.
But no, it's not.
It doesn't. Yeah,
it's just bullshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Like, come on, it's just like, excuse me, but it's like crapping out paint from your butthole. Like,
it's worse. At least he uses paint.
Yeah, at least he's putting his health at risk. Sorry.
It's broken.
Yeah, sorry. I mean,
you should actually check him out. You will find him when you look. Just
come on.
Just search Norwegian artist paint in butt. I think you're gonna find him, and it's not gonna find any oogie boogie.
Yeah.
Kind of censored things.
Yeah.
You're gonna find him. It's even in a documentary in the Norwegian national TV. So you're gonna find him.
Oh my God. But the whole point is that, it has to be a communication. And if I'm screaming in a language that nobody understands, people don't really get what I'm saying.
And you're just screaming.
You're just screaming. And I guess that's an expression, but it's not communication. And I think fine art or art communicates something. When you walk among these masterpieces, you feel something. You know there's intentionality and skill behind this. It was done on purpose. But when the guy's, spraying out on the canvas from his intestines, you can't really say that each one of those drops is there for a reason. It just happened. And is he expressing something?
I feel you're living more of the life of I am me, so you should respect me, and I need to be able to express myself.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that is expression.
No.
It's just trying to do something ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, we need to encourage people to develop themselves and their own expression. And like Aristotle said, that the supreme beatitude, the greatest beauty, is when you have developed your internal knowledge, your understanding of yourself so much that you expressing yourself lifts the community around you, because then the community and you are both served by you being there.
But wouldn't that be then you'd express yourself in everything you do, not just the painting that you make?
That's it. And that's the most beautiful thing you said right there this morning, because that's what I experienced. These people that I was hanging out with were unbelievably beautiful human beings and very interesting. They were well-spoken. They had insight. They had depth. Sean Friend, Clarissa James, and Salma Tumek were amazing human beings. And then you have, of course, David and Jim and everybody who's running the Rome residency. These people walk, breathe, and eat art, but not just art, but culture and communication. And it was awesome. So, when you can spend time in that environment, it changes you. It really changes you. And the question is, if you're hanging out with people who are spraying paint with their intestines, is it really changing? Is it making your life better? I don't think so. And I think that's what, and it's not that everything has to have a meaning and everything has to be evolutionary, but if you can choose, who do you want to hang out with? Do you want to hang out with masterful people, or you want to hang out with people who are basically showing how useless and meaningless things are? It's very interesting. So I had a great time and came back with lots of inspiration. So now we're working on the ideas around a child's book. So it's, probably one of the most handsome dogs on the planet. He's not only sweet and kind, but he's also extremely well dressed when he's going out. Teddy, who is Moritz and Eidek's golden retriever, and we're thinking about writing a children's book that has to do with Teddy's Fur Baby Academy and all the things that fur babies need to learn as they go out into the world. We're working on that. We're maybe going to do Nano, who's our German Shepherd, and Teddy's wild adventures in the world. We'll see how this thing develops. And I look forward to illustrating your book. This is going to be a super good.
That's actually an interesting question for our readers. If you have a child, if you have a child or children, and you need a bedtime story,
what would that be?
What would that be? That is developing. We do not talk about popping paint out of your butt, but what would that be?
Yeah, if you felt something was missing,
you would tell a bedtime story that had some substance to it.
Yeah,
that's somehow educational, and we talking very small children from 3 to 4 and 5 and up to 8.
Yeah.
So different categories. If you have any suggestions or requests about what's needed,
yep, send us a message. Yep, and we will work on it. That's wonderful. So remember, you matter. Unless you multiply yourself by the speed of light squared, then you're energy. But if you can't be energy, matter.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you felt we added something to your day and hopefully your life. If you want to learn more, subscribe to our newsletter and find us at integrated-human.com. That is integrated-human.com. Integrated Human on YouTube and other social media platforms. Have a great day and thank you again for listening. Love, light, and upgrade from us at the Integrated Human team.